Hello, good morning and welcome back to Portugal and to almost the beginning of fire season. If you're not aware, Portugal has lots of issues with wildfires and forest fires, and so land clearing is something that's taken very seriously here. And it's a bit of a constant battle for us because stuff just grows incredibly fast, particularly in the spring. It feels like we've been strimming and mowing and clearing and chipping and tidying things for weeks now. But I thought it might be interesting to put together a bit of a flashback episode to show you some of the evolution of how we've approached the clearing of the land and turning it into something more useful. Yes, we are doing a big house renovation, but really this whole project that we're doing here is not just about the house, but it's also about restoring and renovating and rejuvenating the land. And in the video that's going to be coming out next, we're going to be doing some specialist clearing of our well, which is just over here behind me, because we had some family and friends visiting with some specialist skills and some specialist equipment, and we sent them down the well to clear it out. So as a bit of a prelude to that, I thought we would show you some of the other clearing activities that we've done on the property over the last 18 months or so. So let's jump in the time machine and take you back to November 2020 and show you what this area behind me used to look like.
One of the first projects that we tackled after buying this 1 acre smallholding in October 2020 was clearing a space to start growing food. But the only tool that we had at the time was a small battery-powered strimmer, kind of like a brush cutter, but with tiny plastic blades. This just about managed to cut the grass, but anything larger would cause the blades to break or fly off and bury themselves somewhere else in the undergrowth. However, over time, we cut back the tall grass, we dug out some small bushes, and Kylie even removed a couple of trees that were growing right in the middle of the perfect place for planting veggies. In a video in a few weeks' time, we'll show you a bit more of the evolution of our gardening area and some of the work that we've done recently to almost double our growing space for summer crops. With some vegetables in the ground, next up we tackled clearing an area next to the veg garden. We'd been told by the sellers that this was the location of the septic tank, but it was buried under years of sprawling brambles, unkept vines, and thick undergrowth. Our battery-powered strimmer was almost useless in this area, and the vegetation was so thick that we had to cut away most of the foliage slowly by hand, using a pair of pruners. However, one piece of kit that we did invest in at this stage was a petrol-powered wood chipper and shredder, which turned out to be a really valuable tool at this stage of the process because it allowed us to turn all the piles of brambles and branches and prunings into a really nice fine mulch, which would ultimately become our first batch of homemade compost. After hacking our way into the middle of the septic area, we were still no closer to finding anything that looked like a hatch or a tank or an access hole or anything. But after digging a couple of test pits, I did find something made of concrete.
So I think I found something, but I don't know exactly what it is. I just started digging a random test pit to see if we could follow this pipe. So I started digging here, and it looks like I found the edge of something, which is quite possibly the septic tank. So down here, this is concrete, and it seems to go, well, it goes right to the edge
here and then probably more that way. Here is the edge, which is very easy to dig away. I mean, it could just be something that's fallen over in the ground, but it's interesting. More digging required. Spurred on by this discovery, we continued to clear the undergrowth and then started digging to try and trace out the area so we could get an idea of the shape and size and, most importantly, the location of the tank. We did get a good understanding of its shape and size eventually, but we never found a hatch or any way of accessing the tank, which we now understand to be more of a soakaway or cesspit kind of system. So we didn't exactly find what we were looking for or what we were expecting to find, but at least we had a slightly better idea of where all the wastewater from the house was flowing to. And this was a very useful piece of information to know when we started to plan out some of the plumbing and grey water and rainwater harvesting systems that we've already started working on. Continuing the theme of water, one of the other features of our property that we wanted to understand more and ultimately use were our water tanks. These are located right in the middle of the plot next to the well, and they were full of all sorts of crap. Twigs, leaves, apples that had fallen from the large tree towering overhead, some concrete blocks, bits of rebar, and lots of mosquito larvae. It smells quite a bit in there. And so it's not going to be the most pleasant of jobs cleaning this out, but hopefully we can get it clean and hopefully it holds water. It looks like a concrete and brick construction. No idea how old it is, but let's see if we can get it cleaned out. Are you looking forward to this project?
No. I'm worrying about how dirty my shoes are going to get and whether I should just go in barefoot.
That sounds disgusting.
Well, equally it sounds disgusting having trainers that are going to smell forever of I don't know what.
And your feet smell already, so...
Thank you. I did shower yesterday. Or shower, there's a rough
It's a relative term.
What we do. I'm thinking I'm going to keep my shoes on, and I'm hoping that the smell will later come out. You know, vinegar cures all, so...
Very good.
Let's see if... Gross, isn't it? Okay. So I'm thinking my strategy here is to... Can you grab that?
I can try.
I mean, cameraman, come
grab her.
I just want to make a place that's clean enough for me to get into.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I pull that back from here, if I pull it back, then that'll be easier than me trying to push it away.
Oh yeah, do that.
Hold this. Just to prove that I do also do work. I think this is really nice compost. You would have thought with all the work that we do, we'd lose more weight, but then we drink enough wine to compensate for that. In future, we want to use these tanks as part of our irrigation system, but in the short term, we thought we could use them as a temporary plunge pool to cool off on hot summer days. Cleaning the tanks would kill two birds with one stone. We could get them cleaned up and find out if they worked, i.e. if they held water, and we could use them in the short term as a plunge pool.
Oh, see, that's why you're here, because I think it's going to need some boy muscle.
I think what you want to try and do is try and make the pliers the lever, because then you can put more force on it. Well, that'll do. Oh, that's lovely.
I'm standing out of the way of that muck.
Hey, success. And it looks like we can close it again, right? Nice.
There we go. It's a bit of a waste of water, but
Yeah, but I don't.
pretty disgusting water.
Yeah, I don't want to swim in that.
No. Yeah.
Well, that looks nice, doesn't it? It's so
Organic.
organic that it looks like a black hole at the bottom of the tank.
Oh, but the smell.
Yeah, this is worse than the last one, eh?
Now your turn.
It's not the best. You get to do important filming business.
Oh,
Move the stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, goodness me. Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, this isn't even this is just like
Ah.
but somehow it smells worse than that. Maybe we found a septic tank.
So are you volunteering to get in this time?
No, I did the last one, so it's your turn. The issue is that it's getting stuck out here as well. I need to direct the flow. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, I really should have had my respirator on.
So the cleaning process wasn't much fun, but the reality of using them as a plunge pool was even less so.
It's really ice cold. Ice cold.
So, a success?
I think when it's 35 degrees, maybe it won't be so cold. Oh, but my goodness.
You getting in or not?
No.
Yeah, that's freezing cold. Okay, the test drive has concluded.
And in addition to the tanks being too cold to enjoy as a plunge pool, there were lots of cracks and lots of leaks. But the good news is we now know that, and we can take the necessary steps to get them in shape before trying to use them for irrigating the land. We'd made some good progress getting some of the key parts of the property into shape, but we still had the majority of the land to clear ahead of fire season 2021. We'd upgraded our small battery-powered strimmer to a much more powerful battery-powered brush cutter, but this was still not up to the task of cutting down 2-metre-high grass, weeds and shrubs. So we invested in something much more powerful.
You playing with my package? Is it a box in a box? No.
Look at that.
It's a machine.
And what a difference it made.
Where's the best light? Come on. Show off. Okay. Well, that was quite fun, but quite exhausting. And just to give you a bit of context on how this machine is performing compared to the strimming,
can hear the strimmer in the background. Kylie's going around and tidying up around some of the tree trunks and stuff like that. But this area that I'm standing in here, with the strimmer and cutting the long grass and then raking everything up so that we could compost it, it took something like 4 days of afternoons, once we'd finished working in the house, to get this part from the veg garden and the big orange tree there down to the boundary wall. 4 days. Everything that I've done so far was just 2 hours with a little bit of practice beforehand. So this machine is definitely faster, and because of the flails in the flail mower, these kind of metal pieces that kind of jingle around, they cut the grass or the brambles or the small trees or the bushes or whatever it is that it can run over into these tiny pieces, and so you get this nice kind of mulch carpet left behind, which means we don't need to rake it all up unless we want to put into compost. Yeah, only part way through obviously, but so far so good. Fuel on, machine on, half a pull, release, decompression on, and go. It's time to tackle the olive grove. It's amazing, and you can see the kind of the mulch carpet that it's left behind. One thing that I will need to move before going much more this way is this whole pile of trees and prunings. Some of these are dead trees, some of these are things that we've pruned here, and this is another issue that we're tackling with in terms of keeping on top of this land and maintaining it. It's all very well to clear things, to remove dead stuff, to prune where appropriate, but then we end up with these piles of wood that need processing, either turning into wood chip or the stuff that is green, if we get to it while it's still green, can be mulched and put into the compost base. Whew. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's a new day. I've had a costume change. And in discussing with the voice of reason about the way that we should approach this project, I had a change of plans. Originally, I was going to go into no man's land with the BCS. I thought I'd better butt in here quickly and just explain what and where no man's land is. And who better to do that than me from part of the video that I had to cut because of the background noise. So you can hear someone else strimming in the background. This is a piece of the property that we call no man's land, because it seems like no man, no woman, no person, no one has been here for a long time. You can just about see the house behind me, and behind this big bush and a whole load of trees here, that's the back of our outbuildings. I was going to go into no man's land with the BCS to start clearing some of that, but because of what's in there, I think going in with the big machine has a risk of causing some damage to some things that I don't really want to damage. So we have a new plan. We've started consolidating the work that I was doing in the olive grove. We've gone through and trimmed off some of the suckers of the olive trees, and Kylie has started doing some bramble pruning along the boundary wall. And I'm going to spend probably most of this morning putting things through the chipper. Whilst I'm doing that, Kylie is going to go off into no man's land with the strimmer and is going to go and strim around some of the trees that we want to keep and create a little almost like a buffer zone around each one so that we can see them more clearly, because they're quite small, some of the things that we want to keep. And then I'll be able to come in with the big machine and drive around and cut and mow everything in between.
It is getting warm. It's not bad for a morning's work. Took everything that needed to be turned into mulch rather than wood chip, and eventually it will find its way into that compost bay there. Let's go see how Kylie's getting on. Oh goodness me. So this was all bushes. Wow, that's amazing. Hello. How are you doing? You look warm.
Oh, geez. It's
It's almost 11.
yeah, I can feel it.
Yeah. This has really opened up. Also this area over here we did yesterday, Kylie did yesterday. And this is what I was going to show you. We've got loads of grapevines. You can almost see like 3 rows here of grapevines. They're very small compared to some of the others that we have. And then there are some on the boundary wall that are much bigger and have got lots more fruit. We have a small vineyard, which is very exciting. This is no man's land, and the boundary wall goes around the road down to the vines that you might just be able to see down there, just in front of the neighbour's house. We've got all of this kind of brushland here, but still a few more vines dotted around. And then where you see the big cherry tree in the background, that's just behind our outbuildings. And again, there's more vines and there's more fruit trees, like small fruit trees in there. We were going to put animals on this area, but because of the vines, once we get it all cleared out, we're going to be able to see like how many we've got and where they all are. We might try and turn this into slightly more of a formal vineyard area for growing all sorts of different kinds of grapes, so we can make different kinds of wine in addition to our fruit wines that we've already started experimenting with. Video on that coming when they're ready. So, welcome back to the present day. It's been a bit of a slog, but we've pretty much got, I would say, 3/4 of this property now mostly under control. We're in no man's land at the moment with the vines and lots of other shrubbery and undergrowth. And this is the area that is definitely not as under control as we would like it to be. But because of the vines, it's not so easy to just come in here and kind of mow it all flat with the machine. So this definitely takes a little bit more time, and it's not one of our priority areas for working, and because it's kind of hidden around the back of where we spend most of our time, we don't see it as much. And so we're affectionately referring to this area at the moment as our rewilding project. I think that sounds slightly better than no man's land or an abandoned piece of our property. So of course it is something on our radar to deal with, particularly because we want to grow more grapes and make more wine in the future, but it's definitely lower priority for now. But it's tricky to juggle all the things, including the house renovation, tidying the land, growing food, making videos, and occasionally trying to have a life. But we will get there in the end. And of course, we will show you all the process of all the things that we do eventually end up doing here. But now that we're all caught up to speed on many of the things that we've done over the last 18 months, we're now primed for the next video, which will be all about clearing the well. So as I mentioned earlier, my sister and her partner Kat visited recently, and they bought all their climbing gear, and we sent them down the well to clear it out. So if you want to see how that went, definitely stay tuned for the next one. Otherwise, we will have many more things coming to you in the future, in the garden, in the house, in the kitchen shed perhaps, until we get a real kitchen. But thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.